consumption has brought. When I sell to chefs, which I do now, I cook every now and then for Samuel, but when I sell to chefs and when I go do presentations, I do presentations at retirement facilities. The first question that everybody asks, even chefs, is it wild? No, it's not. Either it's not running, it doesn't even exist, or it's not feasible. I mean, again, maybe some of the older guys remember we used to serve something called mock turtle soup because you couldn't serve sea turtle soup. I don't know why we had to make mock turtle soup, but it's the same sort of principle. At the end of the day, the ocean has only so much to give. These farming practices have gotten better and better and better and better, right? Everyone's heard that shrimp story where, they're throwing, dead animals in with the shrimp and they're eating themselves. And, with the law Joe sort of related to or alluded to earlier, there's going to be a law where it's completely traceable. And it's not just a matter of the fish is raised better with a little waste, low mortality, sustainable feed, but the people who are also doing that work, right? I mean, like you said, if there's films about men, Chinese men that are chained to calamari boats, that are dying on these calamari boats. And so, I mean, it's almost like an iPhone, right? If the person who is making it isn't living a life that is just as good as the fish who you want to have a nice life and a nice death and a nice carrying, then it kind of loses the point, right? Sustainable, I know Joe says to me all the time, it's not so much sustainable, it's responsibly harvested or responsibly sold, responsibly transported fish. And that's really what it's all about. And the Dover sole here today, that, like I say, used to be on every menu, just like poke was on the menu. Everything's going to come back. We have it three ways, right? Because also guys don't have butchers anymore. They don't have any to clean fish. So you can buy it whole. It's probably one of the easiest fish to clean because it's a flat fish. But the peeling, where I started it here, so can you see? So I already notched it to save time, but this is one of my first jobs. I had to peel Dover soles. So you do that side, you do this side, and you get a towel, two towels. No, that's not a towel, that's skin. And you peel off the skin. Like, this was my job. I had to do dozens of these. And then you can either take a knife or you can take a pair of scissors and just snip off all those whiskery parts around the outside. Some people save the head, some people don't. Again, if you don't want to deal with peeling it because it can go south on you if you get it wrong, then you have pieces left and somebody's in there with a knife, we sell it peeled or we sell it filleted. In my mind, I think that the whole fish sort of is the allure of it, right? I mean, if you just break this down, I sell you this, it's a beautiful piece of fish, but really at the end of the day, it's just a fillet of sole. And so what a lot of places, like I say, are doing now is they are taking the fish and they're cooking it. Actually, I do have to clean this one. They're cooking it, leaving it on the bottom, bringing it out to, where's my knife? They're bringing it out to the table and saying, would you like us to bone this in the kitchen or would you like us to bone it table side? Or they're just doing it table side. And so I'm going to take these edges off as I did. I'm going to crack the head off as well. And I'm going to make, so the great thing about flatfish, it really is so easy to clean it, right? Because all you really have to do is take your knife, start in the middle, and run along the bone or come from the top. So if I was going to do a table side, you want these guys to be able to indeed fillet it table side without struggling. So you start it. So I'm going to take my knife, I'm just going to angle it just a little bit, just to get it started. Turn it around, angle it again, just to get it started. Flip it over. It adds, a little glitz, right? It adds a little bit of yesteryear. So I'm going to get this out of the way. I'm actually going to flour it lightly. Something else a lot of people don't do anymore, or you have to get a gluten-free flour. I'll get my pan nice and hot, which is also important. So the flour, just say and then So traditionally in the old days, right, you get a pan hot, you have your butter pot in the back, you get your clarified butter, you drop it in there, away from you, I'm gonna turn it way up. But this time I'm gonna do what a lot of guys are doing now, as opposed to just searing it, throwing it in the saute oven, and 8 minutes later you pull it out. Like I said, put it on that wood board with the Duchesse potatoes and your broccoli polonaise and Leo carrots. And I'm going to base it. A lot of guys are butter based. I definitely think it makes a difference. I think it helps with flavor. I think that exposing the top to that base is something that, again, in the old days, I mean, we just went through mothers that, in places I worked, it was 700 for brunch, 600 for dinner. I'm not butter basting anything. You know what I mean? And so, the higher end places, we can do that. It's time to do it. Customers appreciate it. So I'm going to flip it. We're going to hit it with tons of butter. We're going to let that butter brown. And also what that's going to do, of course, if you're paying attention, is that it's going to allow it to make its own sauce in the own pan, again, as opposed to, I'm only telling tales on myself, but having the thing of rabbinic on the side, which you would just sort of throw in there, throw some capers in there. And stuff. With this, it gives it the flavor of, the herbs, the fresh garlic, some pepper. These are 12 to 44 fillet, 12 to 24 ounce fish. So that's going to give us, as I showed you, that's a pretty nice serving, right? So one of those fish, I mean, that's a perfect fillet for dinner. So one of those fish, you figure the cost is for two. I think we're already 12 to 24. It really does, click over the box because people want to know, I mean, it even has omega-3s in it. Traditionally, Dover sole is straw caught. With a limited bycatch, straw caught means they just get this big net and drag it across the ocean. And so really, in the scheme of things, the most sustainable way, as Joe said, and again, he said it's the most responsible way, is to, have a controlled environment. It's like GMOs, right? Sure, it would be great if we didn't have to use GMOs, but they're famine resistant, they're drought resistant, same thing. These are economy resistant. I mean, you guys are all chefs. I'm sure you were calling your fish guy. How much is halibut this week? How much is halibut this week? I'm going to put halibut on my menu next week. How much is it going to be like? Probably, $20. I don't know. Whereas with this farm product, because we know where it's coming from, we know, sort of some sort of issue with production, does happen, but at least we're letting you know that it's happening, that it's a consistently available product. Usually my conversation with people are like, well, pretty sure I could do number one tuna for $19.99, and unless there's like a tuna apocalypse, you know what I mean? But other than that, you can predict those prices because you guys have to run menus, right? If you book a wedding a year out and they want halibut or Dover sole on the menu, and you say, well, it's probably going to be this much. They don't want to hear that. Neither do you. And so I think that with that, again, all those different nonstop. It's reasonable. It's always available. It's very quick from water to plate, and in any way, shape, or form. Do you guys have any questions? Anybody? You know what? Oh, what I do want to say about farming real fast. So one thing that's being farmed right now is scallop. Right? And so again, if you guys are buying scallop, you know that U10s, at least, the U10s are extremely expensive. So right now, I farm Japanese scallop. So yeah, at a country club in Gladwin, and he said, well, these are really firm. They feel like they're cured, right? This will be cured, it's going to tighten up. And I said, you know what, I don't know. Let me ask our buyer, our Japanese buyer. And so those scallops are raised on the ocean floor. And so because the ocean floor moves them constantly, the muscle itself is firmer because it's holding on closer to the ocean floor, whereas rope-grown scallops, which are further north than Hokkaido, are more tender because they don't have to hold on to anything. And so it's those little subtleties that it's almost like creating a fine wine, right? Each one has a vintage, and if the crop was rainy or there wasn't a lot of sun, or the dirt wasn't right. It's the same sort of thing with farming. So you can almost cultivate a menu. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.